Hey there, it's Nathalie, and I'm glad you're here today. I want to show you how to make multiple masks, not just one at a time. I wasn't going to do a video, but I changed my mind. So I'm going to do 4 masks at one time. And so I have a sheet. These are 100% cotton, fat quarter, a piece of fabric from the quilt shop, and just a piece of regular cotton. They've all been washed in hot water and ironed. I have my pattern cut. I've got some interfacing too. I have my pattern cut out of paper. I'm going to use that, and then of course there's a shortage of elastic, so I'm using some hair bands that I got from the dollar store, and I'm going to use some t-shirt fabric, and I'll show you that in just a little bit. But anyway, my pattern is 8 by 9. You can use rotary cutter or a pair of scissors to cut. I'm going to use a rotary cutter. I've got 4 pieces. You could lay up more than that if you wanted to, and I've put my smallest one on top, graduated sizes, so I can make sure that I'm not ending up with a gouge in one of the layers. Anyway, my pattern paper is 8 by 9 inches, and looks like the rotary cutter's doing a good job on that, cutting through all 4 of those layers. And it probably could handle some more layers, but 4 at the time is all I'm going to cut. Move that pattern out of the way. Cut into my ruler just a little bit there. Anyway, I used to have a factory, and actually all of my life I have loved doing assembly. Just usually can't make one of something. I always have to make more than one. So we're going to cut multiple layers here so we can cut and sew 4 at a time. So if you have family members or your kids like to sew, you could get some of them to cut, or get your sister to cut and you stitch, and somebody else to put the ties in or get the ties ready to go. But I just find it faster if I just do several at a time rather than just one at a time. Okay, so that gives me my layers. And then I'm going to cut my interfacing, and I'll cut 4 pieces of that. And it's a non-woven interfacing, so you'll need 2 pieces of 100% cotton. Now, I am not a medical person. I'm just going by a lot of the instructions that I have seen on the internet, and so I don't know that these are going to protect you from anything. They're going to look real cute, though. I mean, that's the thing. And towards the end of this, I add a piece of wire. That's one of the things that's kind of neat about this one. I add a little pocket to put some wire in. So here I've got my stacks. I'm going to stack these up with the interfacing on the bottom. Oh, about the t-shirt. There we go. If you'll take it this 2 inches wide, just a piece of the bottom of a t-shirt, and pull it and stretch it, it will coil up, and those make really good hair ties to tie the mask on with if you don't have any elastic. And of course those hair bands, I've got a brown one to go on the brown fabric, and a little kind of a pink glittery one to go on the one that's more like you would use in a children's ward or something like that. Now these are adult sizes, and you would have to cut it down to make it for a child, or if you've got a small person that you're sewing for, they need to be sized down a little bit, maybe an inch off of each side, 2 sides, the longwise and the crosswise. All right, so I'm putting the interfacing down and the fabric pattern side up, and then the lining on top of that. So you want the pretty side facing up to you. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get them all stacked together and then take them to the sewing machine and sew down the long edges. So there we go again, interfacing on the bottom. This one has not just a, it's got all of the little owls are facing up. There's some of the pattern that some of the pieces, the words point to the bottom, but I liked all the little owls facing up. The brown one, it doesn't have an up or a down. So I have one of my masks that I had whenever I was making burlap curtains. Oh my gosh, what a mess. And so this is probably not an N95 or whatever they call those masks, but measured about 4 inches, and And anyway, I'm just going to make a little pocket. I think it was 4 by 3, and then I cut that in half, so that would be 4 by 1.5. And that's going to make a little sleeve to slide a little piece of wire into there. Just a little cut, and then cut that in half. Fiddle, fiddle, fiddle. Anyway, cut that in half lengthwise. Okay, now to the sewing machine. Now on these little pieces, we're going to fold in like 1/4 of an inch in on both ends, and then fold it in half lengthwise. Now I put a pin there. That's going to be open. It's not going to be stitched shut just yet. Again, fold it in about 1/2 or 1/4. It's not rocket science, so not so perfect. My little shirt says, "Hello, sunshine." It feels like I'm stuck in, but I'm not. I mean, I can go outside anytime I want to. We have a shelter-in-place order in our town. We don't have any cases yet, and I'm so excited. Okay, so I folded my lining in half, and I found the halfway of the lining, and this is going to sandwich between the lining and the pretty fabric. I'll just do it that way, your main fabric. So that's going to go to the inside of that. And I've pinned all 4 of the little sleeves into all 4 of the lining pieces. And then I'm just going to stitch everything. We'll just go in a row, in a row, in a row. And that just makes it a whole lot faster than stopping and clipping threads and stopping and turning. And so here we go. And I'm going to use the side of my presser foot as my guide. And that's going to be the width, that's the seam allowance that I have allowed on this particular pattern. Just don't sew over at the top of my pins. And I'm not worried about back stitching in this particular section right now. And I've used the same color thread, just kind of a neutral color thread on all of these little face masks. Clip that and turn it around. Now that's the top side. Now on the bottom side of the face mask, I'm going to leave a little section, maybe 2 to 3 inches, 3 to 4 inches, and I'm going to back stitch there. So I'm going to leave a gap. This is going to be to turn the mask right side out. So there I'm making my gap. Go back down. I'm still at a 1/4 of an inch, or the edge of my presser foot. Back stitch, and then here we go. Make sure all my pieces are nice and flat. I'm not pinning anything. You can pin or clip if you want to. That is perfectly fine. So my factory that I had, we manufactured for more than 10 years, tons, literally we used 18 tons of clay manufacturing buttons and earrings and jewelry, and we had like 60 employees. So it was definitely assembly line. Some cut, some cleaned the bisque, the greenware, some painted. Okay, so these are ready now to put the ties in. And on the brown one, I'm going to use the t-shirt, the fabric that I've stretched out. And so I'm going to put it makes a little double coil. I'm going to put that towards the lining side so that the front part, when you're wearing it, the smooth part would be towards the outside. The coiled part would be towards your face. It doesn't really matter, and it's not important. It's just so that you can use what you have on hand. If you need to get you some face mask ready, well, this is a way to do it. Or if you're making them, there's a lot of my friends that are making them and donating them to hospital and to healthcare workers. I had really thought that I wasn't going to do this because there's so many of them in our community that's making them. But I thought, I really want to show you this video on how to do more than one at a time. That just seems, it just takes so much time to do one at a time. All right, so now I'm going to use the little elastic pieces. Now on these hair ties, they have, when you get them, and I thought I was recording it and I didn't, but when they're joined together in a loop, they have where they're fused together. That I cut that, and then I cut that in half again. And so you want to open that up, lay that flat in, line it up, and then push that lining over the top of that hairband or a piece of elastic, and then pin it in place. Now, and it's stretchy because that's the size that they were, and I tried this on and it does fit. So when you're going to stitch it in, I'll show you that here in just a little bit. But make sure that little tie is in there, that piece of elastic is in there straight when you pin it in, not at an angle. And then also make sure that it's not twisted or curled, that that piece of headband is flat. All right. Now I've got all 4 of them pinned, and we're ready to stitch. Now I am going to back stitch across the elastic hair tie back and forth, and then because this is stretchy, I have to pull it out just a little bit and feed it in and make sure I don't stitch that elastic hairband, and then also make sure that it's straight going into that last edge. Just kind of manipulate it a little bit. It'll mind. It may not want to, but it will. And then just again line them up, back stitch them, stitch it down, give it a little stretch. There you go. And it doesn't have to be just 4. You could do 8 or 10 or 12, or you could do an odd number too. You could do 15 or 21 or whatever. It doesn't have to be in an even number. And I used scraps. I used pieces that I already had on hand, and didn't have to go and buy anything for this at all. In fact, I didn't buy anything for this. And we're almost ready to turn these right side out. Got one more there to do. Nope, I have another one to do. Lost count. Just make sure you don't sew over your pins either. All right, clip all those threads, and I'm going to clip my corners too. I didn't do the corner on camera. I just clipped off the little ends, and these are ready to turn right side out. So you can kind of pull on the ties if you want to, and kind of tug that a little bit to pull them out to the right side. And then there's the opening at the bottom, and we'll just turn those ends in and top stitch that all the way around. I'm going to take them and press them first. So here's the one with the little elastic hairband that goes around the ears. And just push those corners out. You can use the end of a ballpoint pen with the pin back up in, a retractable pin, so that you don't get ink on the inside corners. That's easy to turn with. You could use scissors, but don't cut. All right, and so my wire is some wire that I found at Walmart. It was in the little dollar section, and so it's a heavier gauge wire than some of the little wires they have there, but it's a real soft, real flexible wire, and I have cut it the same length as the little pocket, and then I am bending in the end so that it doesn't poke through, poke your face or poke through the fabric. And just curl those ends in on that wire. I cut that one just a little bit too long, so I'm going to shorten it a little bit and put another curl in there. And then I'll slide that into the pocket. That's going to be sliding into the pocket's the last step. All right, so I've made me a template, and I've measured 1.5, 1, a 1/2 inch, 1, 1/2 inch, 1. And so there's 1.5 inches on each end. And if I had been smart, this pin, This pen is a water erasable pen for quilting. You usually find it in the quilt sections at Hobby Lobby or at Walmart. And so whenever I steam these or iron them, then that marking will go away. Now if I'd been smart, I would have cut me a piece of paper about an inch longer than my mask and would have marked both ends, and then I wouldn't have to turn that around. I could just slide one way and then the other, and then make those marks. But that little pen will just go away. You missed it with a little bit of water, or touch your finger in a little bit of water, and the marks are completely gone. We're just about ready to pin these pleats into place. Now one of the things is the bottom edge, the pleats will go down towards the bottom edge. So you'll take that 1.5 inch, that first mark, down to the 1 inch, and then pinch again. And the 1 inch spaces are going to be what's going to make the pleat. So it's going to have 3 pleats, and it's a little thick. My machine is kind of a heavy duty machine, and make sure that you have them go in the same direction on both sides. They're going to go down towards the bottom. The pleat will go towards the bottom, and it'd be kind of twisty to have one side going up and the other side going down. How would I know that? Oh well, trust me, I know that. Anyway, so whenever I stitch this around, I am going to just do a little edge stitch all the way around and close up that bottom section, round around, and then whenever I go over, this is thick, and so I might have to walk my presser foot over a little bit of area of that where that pleat is. So just carefully, and then don't sew into my pins. And my machine handles this thickness okay. Yours might be a little cantankerous about wanting to go over that. Now we're dealing with multiple layers of fabric. I was going to do the math in my head, but I think I can't do the math in my head right now. I've been staying in place too long. So I'm going to make sure that I don't catch that little pocket. I mean, it's going to be face down, and it's top stitched in place so far, so it's turned under. That doesn't make sense. You want to make sure that you turn that little pocket under and catch it with your stitches, but don't catch it so far that you can't get your piece of wire in there. And I did all 4 of these all at one time, but I didn't film all 4 of them all at one time. So now I'm going to go to the back side. I'm going to leave one end open on that little pocket and edge stitch, leaving room for my wire, and then at the other end I'm going to go ahead and turn and close that end up, and then I'll slide my wire in and close the other end. And trim off all of those threads. Okay, there goes my wire. Slide it in. Make sure it's all up in there so that I don't stitch it, and see it will cup around the nose really easily. And then stitch the other end closed so it won't slide out. We're all finished. All 4 of them are finished. I hope this has been an inspiration to you on how you can do multiple, save you a little bit of time. Anyway, there's the one with the ties, the one with the elastics, the one that's kind of fun, a little bit juvenile looking. If you have liked this video, if it helps, be sure and like and subscribe. You know the drill. I hope you stay safe during this time. Give me a little thumbs up, and I will see you next time. Y'all stay safe. Bye-bye.